So I'm just going to show you a clip of the voice model. This is not out yet, by the way. So even though GPT-4 is accessible, the voice stuff is not accessible yet. So I'm still waiting for access. I just got a pop-up on my chat saying that it will come out in the next few weeks, basically. But this is what's to come.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey there. It's going great. How about you? I see you're rocking an OpenAI hoodie. Nice choice. What's up with that ceiling, though? Are you in a cool industry-style office or something?
Well, can you take a guess at what I might be doing based on what I'm showing you here?
From what I can see, it looks like you're in some kind of recording or production setup. With those lights, tripods, and possibly a mic, it seems like you might be gearing up to shoot a video or maybe even a live stream.
Yeah. In fact, we've got a new announcement to make.
That's exciting. Announcements are always a big deal. Judging by the setup, it looks like it's going to be quite the professional production. Is this announcement related to OpenAI, perhaps?
It is.
I'm intrigued.
And in fact, what if I were to say that you're related to the announcement, or that you are the announcement?
Me? The announcement is about me? Well, color me intrigued. Are you about to reveal something about AI? Or more specifically about me as a part of OpenAI? You've got me on the edge of I don't really have a seat, but you get the idea. What's the big news?
Yeah, we've got a new model that can interact with the world through audio, vision, and text.
OpenAI.
Okay, so is that the clip that you saw? What did you see?
No. I saw this one of this guy preparing for an interview, but that's absolutely cooked. Like, it sounds fake, right? Like the tone, the texture of the voice, the intonation, the like playfulness of like the responses just does not, like, it genuinely seems like it is like being faked with like a real person in the background.
Yeah, it's wild. So there's a couple of things changed here. This is the voice and video side of things. So it's taking in video input, so it's able to do that. That's the 4.0 or 4 Omni. It's got real-time sort of responses, so the latency is very, very low. You can tell that, like, usually if you use the voice chat, it takes a couple of seconds or maybe a second or two to think about its answer and then give you an answer back. 3.5 is a little bit faster than 4, but typically it takes a little bit of time. However, the real-time responses feel like you're just talking to a person because there's not too many delays, and you can also interrupt it with your voice. So typically when you use the voice AI, you have to tap to interrupt. You can't just start talking. So I thought that was really cool as well. And yeah, the fact that it has so many expressions and the tone of voice can be changed is really cool. I tried to make my current like chat sound like that. So I was like, hey, can you laugh? And it just gave me this like, ha 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 ha. It didn't replicate that. The laugh gets to me every time because that's how I can tell the model's different.
That's really interesting. That's a really interesting way of telling. I think what intrigues me about this is maybe not the voice interrupt. That's been a thing for a little while. Like all of these, what usually happens is that OpenAI and all these other companies that are working in the space release these models, and then you have all these like other companies and teams and people in the open source community just hacking on them. And this sort of like voice interruptible, voice to text, text to voice interface has been something that people have had for a little while. But the speed of this is pretty impressive. Like, even just from like a pure audio streaming, video streaming perspective, let alone processing it. I'm sure that this is running on a dedicated server for the sake of the demo. Like, there's no possible way that that's the experience that every single individual is going to get unless they've made some incredible breakthrough with inference speed.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. But unfortunately, none of this is available. So still waiting for the slow rollout. However, 4.0 is available in text mode, which is really interesting. So I pulled up the benchmarks for 4.0. Okay, so on the benchmarks, it's sort of smashing every model except for the drop test. So the drop test is basically discrete reasoning over paragraphs. So it's the ability for the model to reason over paragraphs, including task counting, comparison, extraction of relevant information. So you give it a bunch of paragraphs and get it to do certain things with those paragraphs. That one, it's not doing as well as Turbo, but in all the other ones, it's doing really well. And you can see mathematical reasoning it's really smashing some of the competitors out there, which is awesome. So the math test, and then there's also I think there's another math test as well. The MGSM is also another math test as well. So you can see it's doing pretty well in both of those areas.
What's GPQA?
GPQA is like general purpose. So
General purpose question answer.
General knowledge type questions, basically. Yeah. I can go through each one. So massive multitask language understanding is the first one. So that's like high school and college exams, those kinds of questions. GPQA is general knowledge. Math is just general math questions. Human eval is like, that's basically generating code. You can tell that it's doing really well in actually generating code. MGSM is also another kind of math test, but different types of math skills. And then drop is basically getting information from paragraphs. How well does it do that? Yeah.
It's pretty crazy that it does so well at maths. I mean, it's been doing well at coding for a long time, and I guess maths is arguably a form of programming. They're sort of very isomorphic to each other, but it has been notoriously bad at that. And you can tell just by looking at the other benchmarks, right, that language models have been notoriously bad at doing mathematics.
I think that, plus the fact that it's 2 times faster and 50% cheaper than GPT-4 Turbo. Like, that's such a big improvement in actual performance in terms of like raw ability to do things, and also speed and cost. Like, that seems like a really big improvement as well.
I must say, though, that's never been an issue for me. Like, even with the slower models, and maybe it's a sort of chicken and egg game kind of thing where until the model is fast enough that you can use it in real time, you don't bother trying to use it in real time. But most of the use cases that I've had for GPT and Claude, which are the 2 ones that I use mainly, I've not been bothered by the speed. Like, the sort of what I'm getting for what I'm putting in is so worth it that I'm willing to wait. I think it's not a long wait, right? People talk about it as if it's really, really slow, but it's seconds,
Yeah, I think this really kicks in mainly with the voice stuff. So if you want to have a more seamless conversation with someone and not actually have to wait. So there are some tools now that do outbound sales calls using AI. And in that case, like, yes, the latency actually slightly matters because
God, that's going to be so annoying.
Yeah.
That's going to get so annoying. Except for the fact that you're going to be able to have an inward bound voice pickup, right? I'll be able to train an AI to sound like me, and it'll pick up the phone, try to figure out whether this is a legitimate call, and only then forward it to me, the human.
And potentially not even forward it to you. It just handles all your phone calls from now on. Like, just AIs talking to AIs, and then no one actually interacts with each other because, why bother?
The final level of removal of human interaction.
The other things about 4.0, I think this week was all about usability improvements rather than the actual raw ability of the models. Like, the models were cool. There was Gemini Pro 1.5 and then 4.0. Like, the models were great, but I think it was more interesting all the usability things added. So they've added memory. So memory allows it to memorize conversations you've had in the past and then use it as context for future conversations. So you may notice when you start typing in ChatGPT, I think you use Claude more, right?
I've been using Claude more recently just because I wanted to test them out with each other.
Yeah.
But I still use GPT every now and then.
So on GPT, you may see this little thing that pops up saying memory updated. It started coming in the last week or so. That's because it's trying to update its memory on how it's like conversing with you personally. Browse. So previously it uses Bing search. The browse thing I don't think is available now because I tested it and it still uses Bing search. So the browse thing is going to come a bit later. The more advanced data processing. So apparently it's a lot better with processing data and creating graphs and things like that. And then improved quality and speed in 50 languages. So they're trying to work on the different languages, which has 97% coverage across the population. So that's pretty good as well.
That is pretty good.
Yeah. The only thing I don't understand is that the only difference, so 4.0 is now available for free. I think it's being rolled out slowly. So not every free user has access yet. Maybe by the time we publish this, which will be in a few days, everyone will have access for free. But 4.0 is now accessible to everyone, which is amazing. However, the paid users only get a 5x improvement on capacity So I don't know what the value of holding a GPT membership is anymore. Maybe they're going to launch another model in a couple of months where, GPT-5, 4.5, whatever it is.
Well, I think it comes down to developer tooling at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So I think everyone is being so competitive at the moment with capturing users. Like, this seems like it's just a race to who can establish brand dominance, right? And I do think OpenAI is kind of winning that. But you can do a pay per token through the API. So like if you're programmatically accessing these models, you pay per token. And that's a very, very different kind of model. And it makes a lot more sense because if you're, developing an application and then that application is interacting with these AIs behind the scenes, you can't get rate limited. You just can't, right? That would be an absolutely atrocious user experience to say, oh, sorry, our API on our end is suddenly being rate limited. So there are these like enterprise grade plans that you can use. And I think that's possibly where you end up monetizing, for lack of a better word, properly.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think we'll see how they go over the next few months. There is an updated list of things that are sort of coming out. So shout out to Igor on X or at the AI Advantage. He sort of put a list on like the stuff that's already out and the stuff that is coming out. And I think he's updating this thread as they go. So